After 10 long years, my phone rang. The sound was normal, but my heart reacted as if it was something strange, something dangerous. I looked at the screen, and there it was, his name. For a second, my heart stopped beating. I could feel a cold wave run through my body. My hand began to shake, and I almost dropped the phone. 10 years is not a small number. 10 years can change people, change dreams, and erase promises. 10 years can make you forget voices, faces, even feelings. But in that moment, with his name glowing on my screen, every memory came back. I remembered laughter. I remembered lessons. I remembered rainy afternoons and warm words. My chest felt tight, and the air around me seemed heavy. I didn't know if I was ready for this. My thumb hovered above the green button. Answer. Or let it ring. My phone kept singing its sharp, mechanical tone, but to me it felt like the beating of a giant drum. It was not just a phone call, it was the past, knocking at my door. You see, a normal phone call is simple. It rings, you pick it up, you talk, and then you hang up. But this was different. This was a call from another life, a life I thought was gone forever. It was the sound of 10 years of silence suddenly breaking, like glass shattering in the middle of the night. I stared at the phone, almost afraid to touch it. The ringing sound grew louder in my mind, though I knew it was the same volume. My memories raced faster than my thoughts. I could see his smile, hear his voice from long ago, feel the warmth of his presence. I didn't know if he had changed. I didn't know if I had changed too much to talk to him. My stomach twisted, my throat felt dry. Part of me wanted to answer because I feared I might never get this chance again. Another part of me wanted to let it go, because I wasn't sure if I could handle what might come next. My heart said, do it. My fear said, don't. And I had only seconds to decide. 10 years ago, he was more than just a person I knew. He was my mentor. My guide. Sometimes, he even felt like my older brother. We met in a small classroom in the oldest part of the city. The room had cracked walls, squeaky chairs, and a smell of chalk dust that never went away. I was young, shy, and unsure of myself. Most people didn't notice me much. But he did. He always noticed the quiet ones. He told me I had something inside, something bright, something strong. At first, I laughed when he said that. I didn't believe him. But he kept saying it, every week. He would stay after class to help me with my work. He spoke slowly, clearly, and with patience. Sometimes, he told me stories about his own life, about times when he failed, and how he stood up again. His stories made me feel less alone. He didn't just teach me words or grammar. He taught me to believe in myself. We had a little routine. After class, we often walked to the bus stop together. It was not far, but we walked slowly, talking the whole way. He never rushed me. He asked me questions, not just about school, but about my dreams, my fears, and my ideas. He listened carefully, never interrupting. I remember one afternoon when rain began to fall suddenly. I had no umbrella, but he had one. He didn't think twice, he gave it to me. Stay dry, he said with a smile. I can handle the storm. He walked away in the rain, his jacket already getting wet. That simple moment taught me more about kindness than any lesson could. I began to admire him, not only for his knowledge, but for his heart. He never pretended life was easy. He told me, life will test you again and again. But you can pass the test if you keep trying. I started to believe I could face my own storms. Sometimes, our talks became about the future. He once asked, "Where do you see yourself in 10 years?" I looked at him, confused. "I don't know," I said honestly. He nodded and said, "That's okay. You don't need to see everything. Just keep moving." His words stayed in my mind. He gave me books to read, new words to learn, and small challenges to complete. When I did well, he would clap his hands, smiling proudly. Not many people celebrated my small steps. But he did. He saw potential in me when I couldn't see it myself. His faith made me work harder. Week after week, I kept learning, not just English, but lessons about life, about patience, about how success is built slowly. Now, when I look back, I realize those years were some of the most important of my life. He was not just a teacher of words. He was a teacher of courage. He taught me how to speak when I was silent, how to dream when I was afraid, and how to keep going when I wanted to stop. His lessons came not only from books but from the way he lived. Every small act of kindness, every encouraging word, every shared story built me into the person I am today. But then, one day, everything changed. Without warning, he was gone. No letter. No goodbye. Just an empty seat where he used to sit. I didn't understand why. I only knew my mentor had disappeared from my life, leaving a space nothing else could fill. It happened so quickly that it didn't feel real. One week, he was there, smiling as always. The next week, someone else was in his place. I asked around. One person said he had moved to another city. Another said he had to take care of family. I never learned the truth. I wanted to ask him directly, but I didn't have his contact anymore. It felt strange, walking to the bus stop alone. I kept expecting to hear his footsteps beside me, but there was only silence. I told myself he would come back. I waited for weeks. Weeks became months. Months became years. The silence between us grew heavier. At first, I promised myself I would write him a letter. But I didn't know where to send it. Then I thought, maybe I can call him. But I didn't have his phone number. Life slowly pulled me forward. I finished school. I started working. I met new people. But sometimes, small things would bring him back to my mind. When I saw someone holding an umbrella in the rain, I thought of that day he gave me his. When I heard someone speak with patience and warmth, I thought of him. He had become part of me, even if he was gone. The world moved on, but a small part of my heart stayed in that old classroom. 10 years is a long time. Long enough to forget many things. But I never forgot his name. I never forgot his voice. I carried them like a secret in my heart. Still, I never imagined I would hear from him again. So when my phone rang that day, and his name appeared, it felt unreal. My breath caught in my throat. My fingers went cold. I knew that if I answered, something in my life might change forever. And if I didn't, maybe I would regret it for the rest of my life. I pressed the green button slowly, as if I was opening a heavy door. I lifted the phone to my ear. For a moment, there was only silence, long, heavy, almost painful. Then, I heard his voice. It was deeper than I remembered, but still warm, still gentle. "Hello," he said, each word slow, careful. "It's been a long time." My throat tightened. My lips moved, but no sound came. Finally, I managed to say, "Yes, 10 years." He gave a small, soft laugh, the kind I remembered so well. "I wasn't sure if you would answer," he said. "I wasn't sure either," I replied. Then, for a few seconds, we both stayed quiet, just listening to each other breathe. It felt strange and familiar at the same time, like opening a box you had kept locked for a decade and finding the same scent, the same feeling, waiting for you inside. I could hear faint sounds on his side of the call. It was not quiet. Somewhere far behind his voice, there were noises, soft traffic sounds, maybe the distant hum of a cafe, or footsteps on a street. But his voice was the clearest thing. It was the same voice I remembered, but deeper, older, carrying years of life in it. He spoke slowly, carefully, as if each word mattered. "I have thought about calling you many times," he said. "Many times in these years. But every time, I stopped myself. I wasn't sure if you wanted to hear from me. My chest felt heavy. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear, afraid I would miss even one word. Why wouldn't I want to hear from you? I asked, my voice smaller than I expected. He paused. I could hear him take a breath. Because I left without saying goodbye, he said. My heart tightened. That was the question I had carried for 10 years, why did you leave? Why no goodbye? And now, here it was, not in a letter, not in a dream, but from his own mouth. I wanted to tell him everything, how I had waited, how I had felt. But my words stuck for a moment. Finally, I whispered, it hurt. When you left, I thought maybe I wasn't important to you. His voice softened, almost like he was speaking to a child. You were important. More than you knew. I just couldn't explain then. I closed my eyes, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. He hadn't forgotten me. He hadn't erased those days like I sometimes feared. I took a slow breath and tried to calm the storm in my chest. My hands were still trembling, but I forced my voice to stay steady. Then, why now? Why call after 10 years? For a moment, all I could hear was his breathing, slow, measured, almost as if he was choosing his words like precious stones. Because, he said at last, I realized I didn't want another year to pass without telling you something. The way he said it made my heart race again. I leaned forward in my chair, as if somehow I could move closer to him through the phone. You once told me, he continued, that you didn't know where you would be in 10 years. I told you then, just keep moving, keep walking forward. And I have been wondering, did you? His question was simple, but it felt heavy with meaning. My lips curled into a small smile, even though my eyes felt wet. Yes, I said. I kept moving. Not always fast. Sometimes very slowly. Sometimes I wanted to stop. But I moved. There was a pause. I could hear the sound of him breathing in, then out. When he spoke again, I could hear the smile in his voice. Good, he said softly. That's all I wanted to know. His voice seemed to open a door inside my memory. Suddenly, old pictures came alive again in my mind, the small classroom with peeling paint, the long wooden desk where we sat, the smell of chalk dust in the air. I could hear his old laugh, the one that rose slowly and filled the room. I remembered how his eyes lit up whenever someone understood something for the first time. I remembered rainy afternoons walking to the bus stop, my shoes splashing in puddles while he told me stories. I remembered the way he tapped his pen against the desk when he was thinking deeply. It was all so clear, as if the 10 years between then and now had been only a dream. Do you still teach? I asked quietly. He chuckled, a low, warm sound. In some ways, yes. I still help people learn. But life, it took me in other directions. I wanted to ask what directions, where he had been, what he had done. But I was afraid that if I asked too much, the moment we had now might break. So instead, I told him about my life. I told him about the late nights, the mornings when I didn't want to get up, the times I thought I would fail. I told him about the small wins, finishing a book, passing a test, speaking in front of people for the first time. And the whole time, he listened. Just like before. Every "I see" and "that's good" felt like a warm light being switched on inside me. Then his voice changed. It became lower, slower, almost as if it carried a weight. I need to say I'm sorry, he began. I sat up straighter, holding the phone tighter. I should have said goodbye to you. I should have explained why I left. You deserve that. My throat tightened. Then why didn't you? I asked. He hesitated, and for a moment, I thought he might not answer. But then, he spoke. Because I was afraid. Afraid of your disappointment. Afraid I would see it in your eyes. I told myself I was protecting you, but maybe I was just protecting myself. I didn't say anything right away. The silence between us was thick, but it wasn't empty, it was full of 10 years of questions and feelings. Finally, I said quietly, I was hurt. But I also understand now. Life doesn't give us perfect moments to say the things we need to say. Sometimes we miss them. I heard him take in a breath, and when he let it out, it sounded lighter, as if a small burden had been lifted. Still, he said, I regret it. I regret not telling you then how much you mattered. My voice shook as I replied, you gave me enough before you left. More than enough. I carried it with me all these years. There was a long pause. Then he spoke again, his tone more certain. You know, I called you today for more than just an apology. I wanted to remind you of something. You have a gift. I blinked, confused. A gift? Yes, he said. The way you listen, the way you keep going even when you are tired or afraid, that is your gift. You had it back then, and you still have it now. But gifts, they fade if you don't use them. His words sank deep into me. For years, I had doubted myself. I had wondered if I was strong enough, smart enough, good enough. But hearing this from the man who first believed in me, it was like water on dry ground. Don't waste it, he added. Life is shorter than we think. One day, you will look back and see you had fewer days than you imagined. Use them. There was a long pause. Then he spoke again, his tone more certain. You know, I called you today for more than just an apology. I wanted to remind you of something. You have a gift. I blinked, confused. A gift? Yes, he said. The way you listen, the way you keep going even when you are tired or afraid, that is your gift. You had it back then, and you still have it now. But gifts, they fade if you don't use them. His words sank deep into me. For years, I had doubted myself. I had wondered if I was strong enough, smart enough, good enough. But hearing this from the man who first believed in me, it was like water on dry ground. Don't waste it, he added. Life is shorter than we think. One day, you will look back and see you had fewer days than you imagined. Use them. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. My throat was too tight to speak, but I whispered, I will. His voice softened again. There's something else I need to tell you, he said. I could feel my heart starting to beat faster again. What is it? He hesitated. I may not have much time. My breath caught. What do you mean? My health, it's not what it used to be. I've been sick for a while. That's why I started thinking about people I once knew, people who shaped me, people I never thanked properly. I felt my stomach twist. I wanted to ask questions, what illness, how serious, but I also didn't want to turn the moment into something cold and medical. I'm sorry, I said quietly. Don't be sorry, he replied. I've had a full life. And I'm happy I can speak to you now. I didn't want my story to end without you knowing how much you meant to me. My eyes blurred with tears. I gripped the phone tighter, as if holding onto the call could stop time from moving forward. I also thought about how strange life is. People can disappear from our days but remain in our hearts. 10 years of no messages, no meetings, no signs, and then, one single call can bring everything back. It made me realize how powerful human connections are. We may think they are gone, but they live quietly inside us, waiting for a spark to wake them up. I felt both joy and sadness. Joy because I had the chance to hear from him again. Sadness because I knew time was limited. But above all, I felt grateful. Grateful for the call. Grateful for the years we shared. Grateful for the reminder that what we give to others, kindness, encouragement, belief, can last longer than we think. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the call in my mind. His words about my gift stayed with me. I thought about the times I had hidden my talents because I was afraid to fail. I thought about the days when I let fear choose for me. And I thought about how different things might be if I used my gift fully, without hesitation. I realized that people like him come into our lives for a reason. Sometimes, they stay. Sometimes, they leave. But their purpose is the same, to push us forward, to remind us of our own strength, to light a candle in the dark so we can find our way. And if they give us that candle, we must keep it burning, not just for ourselves, but for others. By the time the morning light came through my window, I knew what I had to do. I had to keep moving forward, not just for me, but because he had believed in me when no one else did. His call was more than a conversation. It was a bridge, connecting who I was to who I could still become. It was proof that words spoken years ago can still have power today. I decided I would not let his belief in me be wasted. I would use my gift. I would share it. I would try, fail, try again, and keep going, no matter how hard it became. And maybe, one day, I could give someone else the same kind of encouragement he had given me. The kind that lasts 10 years, and beyond. The more I thought about the call, the more I understood it wasn't only about the past. It was about now. About the present moment and the choices I could make. His words echoed in my head, gifts fade if you don't use them. I started to see all the times I had hidden my ideas, stayed quiet in meetings, or walked away from challenges because I was afraid to fail. I saw how many doors I had left unopened. The thought made me both sad and hopeful. Sad because I had lost time. Hopeful because I still had time left. I began to think about my English learning journey too. When I first met him, I was afraid to speak, afraid to make mistakes. He had taught me that mistakes were part of learning. And now, I realized, that lesson was not just about language, it was about life. I told myself, if I can try again in English even after failing, I can try again in life. If I can learn one new word each day, I can take one new step each day toward my dreams. The call had reminded me of something I had almost forgotten: moving forward doesn't have to be fast. It just has to be steady. I began to see how learning a language and living a life were strangely similar. In both, you start not knowing much. You feel shy, you make mistakes, you want to quit. But if you keep practicing, keep trying, one day you look back and realize you've grown. My mentor had been my language teacher, yes, but he was also teaching me the language of courage, patience, and self-belief. I thought about the times I had spoken English with strangers, feeling nervous but doing it anyway. I thought about the times I had learned a new word and then used it in real conversation. Each small win in English was also a small win in life. And now, his call was like a lesson review after 10 years. He was checking in to see if I had kept practicing, not just my English, but my hope, my effort, my willingness to keep going. And I realized something important: even if people leave, the lessons they give you can stay forever. The more I remembered his words, the stronger I felt. His voice was still in my mind: don't waste it. Use your gift. I started writing down all the things I had once dreamed of doing: learning more languages, traveling, writing, helping others learn. The list was longer than I expected. I noticed that many of those dreams had been asleep for years, like seeds waiting in the dark. That night, I looked at the list and thought, why not start now? I didn't need to wait for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. Just like when you learn English, you start speaking even before you feel ready. You begin, and readiness grows after. His call didn't just remind me of the past, it woke me up to the present. And with that wake-up came a feeling I hadn't felt in years: excitement for the future. I made a quiet promise to myself that I would not let this moment fade. I have had other moments of inspiration in the past, but they often faded after a few days. This time, I wanted it to be different. I decided to set small, clear steps, things I could do every day, no matter how busy or tired I was. Just like my mentor had once told me, small steps make big changes. I planned to practice my English for at least 15 minutes daily, even if it was just reading aloud or learning 5 new words. I planned to reach out to old friends, even if it felt awkward at first. I planned to speak up in situations where I would normally stay silent. I could almost hear him encouraging me, clapping the way he used to when I succeeded at something small. And in that moment, I understood, his gift to me was not just his teaching, it was the belief that I could change my own life. And now, I want to speak to you. Maybe you, too, have someone from your past who believed in you. Maybe you've lost contact. Maybe you think too much time has passed. But I'm here to tell you, it's never too late. A call after 10 years can still change everything. Sometimes we think people have forgotten us, but in truth, they may still carry our name in their hearts, waiting for the right time to reach out. Or maybe you are the one who should make that call. Don't wait for the perfect day, because it may never come. Reach out. Say what you need to say. Thank the people who helped you. Encourage someone who might need it now. Even a small message can bring warmth that lasts for years. My mentor's call taught me that words are never wasted when they are spoken with kindness. If you are learning English, think of it the same way. Don't wait until you are perfect to speak. Speak now. Use the words you know. Learn a little each day. And remember, mistakes are not the end, they are proof that you are trying. My mentor used to tell me, your voice matters. I am telling you the same thing now. Whether you are calling an old friend, talking to a stranger, or sharing your story in English, your voice matters. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And the more you connect with others, the more you will find that the world opens in ways you never expected. Reconnecting with someone after years apart is like finding a missing piece of yourself. You might not even realize the piece was missing until it's back. When I heard his voice after 10 years, I felt like part of me that had been quiet and hidden was alive again. That part had been waiting for someone to remind it of its purpose. And maybe that's what we all need sometimes, not a new dream, but a reminder of the dream we already have. So if you are feeling lost, think about the people who once inspired you. Ask yourself, what would they tell me now? Then, act on it. Even if you can't speak to them directly, carry their words forward. Dreams can fade if we let life's noise cover them. Work, bills, responsibilities, they all take our energy. But we can choose to keep a small corner of our heart safe for our dreams. My mentor reminded me that my gift was still there, waiting to be used. That was my dream, to use it to help others, to keep learning, to keep growing. I realized that dreams don't expire just because time has passed. They only disappear if we let them. And if you are listening to this now, maybe it's your sign to take one small step toward your dream today. Some calls change your mood. Some calls change your day. And some calls change your life. This was one of them. In 10 minutes of conversation, my mentor gave me back something I didn't even know I had lost, my belief in myself. It was like a window opening after years of being closed, letting fresh air in. The view was the same, but I could see it with new eyes. I realized that life is full of second chances, but we have to take them when they appear. And this call, after 10 silent years, was my second chance. So I will end with this: if there is someone you need to call, call them. If there is something you need to say, say it. Don't let 10 years pass before you reach out. And if 10 years have already passed, do it anyway. Because time may change many things, but it cannot erase the power of a kind voice, a sincere thank you, or a word of encouragement. Some calls might just make you smile. Some calls might make you cry. But a few, just a few, will give you the courage to keep moving forward for the rest of your life. And when that call comes, answer it.